Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jam Pack Journey. Happy Pride Month, and today we are looking at another Disventure Camp What If. There have been a lot of this ones over. So I've been thinking a lot about doing this one ever since it happened, and my initial thought of doing it was, what if Marissa won the tiebreaker? But then I thought a lot of it just kinda stay the same, except like maybe just switching just Logan getting eliminated in Zayd's place, but I decided to do something a lot more interesting. Instead of just having it to where Marissa won the tiebreaker, I am having it to where Isabel never had the tiebreaker before and just eliminated Marissa and Anastasia straight up. As I said, I felt this was more interesting as it creates a lot of conflict, especially as it kind of erases a major conflict that they now have with Isabel, being she didn't do this awful move towards someone and just played, and I just really just did what is a game move. So there's really no reason for anyone to be that mad at her after that. How does this work? I will get to that in a minute. But first, let me say something of how I'm going to be doing what ifs in the future, since I do want to continue doing these. Instead of just taking ideas I love, I want to make sure that not only things would actually change significantly, but also that I but also that they could reasonably happen. Meaning no anything with like character derailment, specifically no anything from a meta like out, but yeah, no meta behind the scenes stuff like what if what if what if Rhea wasn't given major spotlight again, because I want to make sure I have a jumping off point with the change instead of just making the change. The only other exception would be like if you wanted me to do what if Disventure Camp All Stars only had two teams, which I'd be very interested in doing, but it doesn't mean I'm not interested in making different changes that can't happen. It just means I need to have a jumping off point to make that change. That away, let's get into this video. Okay, so off rip, I think how we need to have this go is everything in the episode plays out the same. Up until Jade tells Isabel about the vote. When she initially goes the tiebreaker plan when Jade says it instead of Isabel like, don't worry, I have a plan to get us off the hook. Instead she says, you're right, and that's not very holy of me either. So let's just eliminate Anastasia off rip. Rip. Jade agrees. And that makes it pretty obvious. Obvious. 6-2 vote with Issa being immune thanks to the idol. Anastasia is eliminated. Anastasia is obviously pissed, and Marissa's upset. Said both of them yelling at Isabel, with a lot of people kind of, while they're sad, we have people who are obviously sad to see Anastasia go. These two in particular, they're like, hey, listen, guys, you can't exactly blame her for using the idol to save herself in this game. You would have done the same. Anna still kind of not would still kind of just still be a bit salty from losing and not listen, but Marissa would think about it a bit, not straight up forgiving Isabel yet, but still kind of just letting it go to focus on giving a sweet goodbye to Anna. And it would kind of just be the same, but in reverse, like Anna encouraging Marissa to win no matter what to stay herself, self being a kind yet unstoppable force in this game. they would kiss as Anna walked onto the boat of losers. So now's a good time to say for Disventure Camp 4, since they had the exit interviews, I am not going to be covering those for my what ifs. If you want, you can put them down in the comments on what you think they would go for, but honestly, I don't think they're necessary. I would love to do them, but I don't have like enough info on what the characters' lives were like beforehand or what would add that already wasn't stated in the show, which would kind of defeat the point of an exit interview. And filling out my own things, which is kind of be too headcanny for me to be comfortable with. So we're gonna go to the next episode. Pit stop. So first up, while Marissa here would be sad, I don't think she would have that same fire that destroyed Anastasia. That same thing that she wouldn't be as destroyed as Anastasia is what I'm saying, because of two things. One, this is Anna's first time being eliminated, and Marissa is still, and Marissa hasn't really gone through the doesn't have that same over paranoid nature that Anna has. And two, most importantly, while she would be sad, she would more so understand the situation isn't Isabel going above and beyond to eliminate one of them. It's just going the standard route to eliminate Anna. She didn't do anything overly necessary to eliminate one of them and save herself. She simply just saved herself from elimination. Meaning that also means Zayd wouldn't be able to talk with Isabel. Wouldn't feel the need to confront Isabel. Instead, we'll just kind of get these two talking about the plan, and Jay and now there's no Wicked. They would just kind of be talking about general game stuff, especially Jade mentioning, we need to be more careful now since you definitely got more eyes on you after you've been hiding that idol this whole time. With Isabel kind of agreeing and saying that let's lay low. Some other stuff I think it is important to know that anything that happened before the Zayd and Isabel talk in episode 7 did happen. So, I mean, these two did have their conversation, but yeah, we would have these two talking to so as well. Nothing would change that. I think Logan and Zayd would kind of talk about. Logan would kind of talk to Zayd about potentially switching sides, but Zayd saying he wants to stay with Marissa to try to make sure to avenge Anastasia. Logan understands. He kind of wants that too, but he also wants to win the game. I don't think it would really cause any major rifts, but they would definitely have a bit of an argument about it before agreeing to disagree and just seeing where the cards lead them. Now, for the challenge, first off, I want anyone who lost the challenge initially is here. You wonder why I didn't put Isabel yet? Because first, it is something we have to consider. Zayd purposely left Anastasia, personally led Isabel to a loss. And not only that, the first loss in the game. So but he wouldn't do that now. So I think maybe she would last a bit longer than usual. But ultimately, I still think she would get eliminated. She does have Jade to help her out with the Benji one. If they somehow get on that same path, but I don't think they are. But Yeah, I do think she is out of this challenge too, because while she would be able to get by the Anastasia question, which in this would just be out of all of what is Anastasia's dream career, and the answers would be photography or modeling, with Marissa knowing the answer and he's performing her. She didn't know Richard's question, despite being on a team with him for most of it. So the only other question I could there's only a potentially two. There's one she would definitely be able to answer, Natalia's question. She was close to Natalia, she would know. She wouldn't know Spencer's though. And we already know she doesn't know Benji's and Richard's, so there's one, two, three one, two, three questions she wouldn't get right out of the two she'd be able, so she definitely wouldn't win this challenge even with even without Zayd sabotaging her. Now, Marissa, I think she would also lose. Main reason, she only really talked to Anastasia for a time. She never got to know Spencer, Natalia, Richard, or Benji. Hell, she didn't even have a chance to get to know Benji. Well, I guess she maybe had a chance when he came on the island, but I don't know. But like, she never really talked to anyone outside of Anastasia or Linda here. Yeah, at least in the game, and she wouldn't know Spencer that well either. So yeah, I think she's also eliminated, making JD easy pick. But before we get to that, we need to get to some conversations that would happen. I think mostly the conversation between Isabel and Logan will still happen with Logan confessing guilt about leaking, but Isabel saying you did the right thing. You know Anastasia couldn't be trusted. Jay told me you thought that too. Two, you do not need to feel bad. You only played the game. With Logan sighing and saying yeah, and he's sorry for agreeing to join the majority with Anastasia. If he knew you had the idol, he would have been with you, with her, and with Isabel not really having much animosity towards him. She kind of understands that based on the situation, even if he did just join, he would have no leverage, and he would have no leverage and just not put himself on the outs. But Amelie would still overhear this. These two would definitely still have a conversation. I can also see Marissa confronting Isabel during this with them Marissa still kind of being upset at Isabel for eliminating Anastasia, with Isabel bringing up two things: one, that is a game move, and two, if she's really gonna get on revenge, then they should be even, because Isabel already got her revenge on Natalia. Now, nothing else really adds. Zayd only really did the one major thing that episode, so I think we're all good here. I think maybe so. Obviously, we have right now. This is seeming to be the majority. Zayd wasn't here originally, so let's put him here. So this would be these four talking. Amelie would mention if Isabel is a plan to Marissa. Marissa says eventually, but I want to get this leaker first, because someone had to tell Isabel our plan for her to use that idol, and we obviously can't trust them in our alliance. We need to get rid of them first, and we'll still have the majority afterwards. So wait to get this. And that leads to the same thing of Logan panicking and framing Zayd. Zayd with Amelie going with it. And yeah, she doesn't accept it. She doesn't immediately accept it. She considers it a possibility. But any other conversation there, like this still happens, but before the vote, we still get one final conversation between Marissa and Zayd, with Zayd swearing he didn't, and Marissa now having to choose who to believe. And she knew that Logan tried to eliminate Anastasia in the past before. And Zayd hasn't really shown any sign. And based on what she knows of Zayd, he doesn't seem like the type who would betray. So I think she would ultimately believe in Zayd, tell everyone else about what happened, not including these two, because that won't matter. Yeah, she tells everyone else in the alliance other than Logan that, yeah, hey, look, Logan's framing Zayd. He is voted off. He's voted for Anastasia in the past on my team multiple times, so I think we can trust Zayd more than Logan. Hannah is a bit hesitant, but she realizes that this checks up. Zayd has never really betrayed anyone in her eyes. Even with the Benji vote, which she's obviously still upset for and holding it against him. It wasn't really a betrayal, and more so revenge. So, yeah, meaning 4-3 vote with the bottom two being Marissa and Logan. Logan is eliminated. Logan is a bit confused, asking why they voted for her when Zayd was why they voted for him when Zayd was the leaker, like they agreed on. With Zayd confronting him about trying to frame him and calling him out for being a bad friend and not and how he didn't deserve to have a benefit of the doubt for his. Logan sighs, tries to apologize, but no one's kind of having it at this point, mainly because a lot of them are so very upset about the last elimination, and they just need time. But yeah, Logan is eliminated. I kind of spoiled that at the beginning, but hey. So now taking new heights. There's a lot to get through with this one. First off, these two would be having a conversation with Hannah apologizing for believing Logan, which Zayda's a bit upset about, but he kind of accepts half-heartedly. He's still upset with her, and she's still upset with him for the Benji vote, but they're at least putting in water in the bridge. He still has a bit of like, how could you think I did that? And Anna is saying it was bias. Amelie says it's fine. Fine, we're gonna go catch some. Says don't worry about it. We'll just go catch some fish, and you can eat, and you can cook it when we get back. With Zayd saying it sounds good to him. And then Amelie would have a conversation with Marissa, saying that she's surprised she took charge the last vote and doing what was best for her game, considering how she's been playing emotionally since she got back. Marissa asked why she thinks that since she's been doing ruthless moves. She did 2 ruthless moves. She did a ruthless moves the first challenge she came back with Anastasia, with Amelie being like, one ruthless move does not make a ruthless competitor. Marissa's sighing, saying she wants to try to do better, especially since, but she can't think since she tried to convince Anastasia to let go of the Isabel vote for the emotional reasons and think about it, but then that happened. But then the tiebreaker happened, and now she can't help but think about winning revenge. Amelie says revenge is great. Revenge can certainly drive you, but you gotta think about the long term of this game. If you vote out Isabel now, you can lose any leverage you have against her. Since obviously she'd be trying to do what she can to get your vote. You got to start playing the game and thinking long term and not in the moment. Marissa then has a confessional stating that Amelie is right. She's been playing too emotionally this far, and now has to start thinking long term for what's best for her game and who to keep around. And that maybe she was overreacting a bit with the Anastasia vote. After all, Isabel was only avenging her friend and saving herself at the same time. And Ami would have a confessional stating that while she did somewhat mean what she said, it was mainly just a ploy to make sure her number one, her best choice of allies for her in Hannah's games are still in putting them firmly in the swing vote position. Then I think Zayd and Isabel would finally have a talk, with Zayd trying to telling Isabel that she needs to apologize to Marissa. Isabel doesn't think she needs to apologize since it was just a game move that she was trying to keep herself in with Zayd saying it may have been a game move, but that doesn't mean what you do in this game doesn't have consequences. Marissa and Anastasia were close, just like you and Natalia were close. So you need to really think about what Marissa is going through. So she was way closer than you and Natalia were. Isabel kind of did the little eye roll saying if you're really saying that, then everything should be even between us, and Marissa has no reason to be mad. Rad with Zayd saying, if you truly think that you're a wicked for a nun. He then leaves, having Isabel go into her "what if I'm wicked" state. This would be the conversation she had with Jade, kind of saying the same thing that you may do wicked things, but that doesn't make you wicked. You're still a good person at the end of the day. Isabel kind of thinks it still, but doesn't go through with it. But still, it's kind of thinking she may be wicked. And finally, instead of the Logan and Hannah talk, we have Jade and Hannah. With Hannah kind of expressing hatred in this game, how everyone she has connected to keeps connecting to leaving, with Jade asking why she continues to play then. Hannah states that she kind of needs the money being on her own since her mother died. Jade kind of understanding, but asking if all that money is really worth the mental duress that's being put on you, especially if you hate the game. With Hannah kind of saying what she said in the exit interview, that the game is fun. It's just hurting her right now. It was once again Jade asking why she continues playing, and not Marissa, with Hannah not having an answer. Then the challenge starts. So I think so I believe the pairs were already pre-stated on drama. So here's what we do. They would definitely. There's two pairs off rip I can already see, which kind of leaves one pair off to the side. Marissa and Isabel because of the recent drama with the votes, and then Zayd and Hannah for the Benji vote, which kind of leaves Jade and Amelie as a pair. As much as the challenge goes, there's a lot to consider. I think Isabel would still want to be. I think maybe Isabel and Marissa would change. Marissa would be a lot more physically capable, and with Isabel being thinner, she would have a much less. She would have less target area to hit than Marissa does. Amelie wanted, if I remember correctly, Jade threw and Amelie sat down. So we'll have that, and then for this I could see it going either way, but I'm going to say Hannah throws, Zayd sits. And honestly, for as much as the challenge goes, it's really anyone. There's really no matter the order, and it doesn't really matter who's doing better in what area until the final part of the challenge. So I'll just kind of focus on more team stuff when they get down, more conversation stuff when they get down. So when they're done then Isabel does end up apologizing to Marissa for the vote, but saying that she was just trying to get revenge for her friend and save her, and that she didn't mean anything personal. She didn't mean to hurt Marissa in any way by it. With Marissa saying that maybe she did overreact a bit for the vote, but she is willing to give Isabel now that she has properly apologized for it and is willing to be her friends. Even though, and even with I believe Derek, Derek trying to bring up the drama with Natalia vote, it doesn't work. Both of them thinking it was a waste of time pairing them together now. So instead, they focus on the Benji vote drama, causing these two to go at it again, kind of slowing them down. And these two don't really have any drama, but them trying to say, yeah, okay, so we're working together. I won't vote for your side, you won't vote for my side. If any pair wins, any pair that if my pair or Isabel pairs wins, let's we agree we vote off Zayd. Was Jade seldom agreeing, but keeping her options open in the future. But she does ask about the possibility of if Zayd and Hannah wins, in which they say they vote off Marissa. As for who wins, it's really tough to decide. We've had out of the four people who were here initially, none of them really seemed. We didn't really get a good idea on any of them. This was Isabel Pear's win, but it was mainly because of Anastasia. I don't see Marissa or Zay being that good at these types of puzzles, especially if someone who's way smarter than them in Jade wasn't that good either. Since a lot of it is more emotion based. So, based on all the info I have, I can only realistically give this to Marissa and Isabel, since we have more reason to believe this side would win than any would, thanks to Isabel winning last challenge. Winning in the original, I mean. So they have immunity. That's when these four would actually get together for a vote with Zayd surprises and Jade to take out Isabel's ally, but Marissa and Isabel stating they made up and are willing to work together now, and besides, we gotta think long term and not short term. And Amelie is a fierce competitor. They need to get rid of now if they want to have a chance in any other future challenges. These two agree, but Jade kind of wants to bring up a vote that still kind of works in hindering Anastasia, that so they'll have the opportunity for it later. But she says that it is still for emotional reasons, but not the way she thinks. She brings up wanting to eliminate Hannah, and the reason why is because she can tell Hannah is suffering from this game, and that her staying here any longer is going to cause way more damage than it should. Zayd is kind of on board with this since he's mad at Hannah, but after hearing that, he sort of feels bad about everything, about all the hatred he's thrown her way now. Now, especially after Jade states the reason she's upset all her friends moving is because of trauma with her mom. With I think I definitely think Hannah would bring that up. She brought that up to people she had less conversation with. So I definitely think she would bring that up to Jade at some point. And obviously Zayd would feel a lot of sympathy for that. And I think that kind of gets them all on board. It still hinders Amelie. But now in a 4-2 vote, Hannah is eliminated. Hannah and Amelie are surprised about Jade and Isabel flipping and that the plan was Zayd, but that's when Jade mentioned that this wasn't done this wasn't made. We wanted to do this, and I wanted to do this specifically not for any game reasons, but because Hannah was suffering in the game, and she needed to go. Not for any reasons of why they would have problems in the finale against her, but because the money wasn't worth what she was doing to herself. And Alma would kind of look back and agree, especially considering these last two episodes, Hannah was not herself, and was becoming a lot more cruel than she normally is. That's when Hannah says that she still does genuinely need this money though, and she can't just, and so it has to be worth it. That's when Amelie states, "If you need the money, I'll be sure to help you out. You've done way more than me than you know, done way more for me than you know, Hannah, and I would gladly repay the favor 10 times over." Two would hug, and Hannah would begin walking, but that's when the reveal of the jury is, with now everyone thinking this has paid off much more, since with Amelie with Amelie coming getting eliminated second and then coming back, she has no chance in a jury vote. So they would all have a confessional stating that about who they need to bring, about how we we definitely need to keep Amelie. And Amelie has a confessional saying they may think they have me at a jury vote, but I have a plan to ensure I have the best chances. And she's sure that Hannah will put in good words for her at the jury anyway. Dungeons and Dragons. Okay. First up, first up we kind of have Jade thinking about the vote now, and now has much more of a reason to believe Isabel's a jury threat, because through all the merge eliminations now, she has made no enemies other than Anastasia, and that's only one vote against her. Well, that is still three votes against her. She now has Richard, Natalia, Logan, and Hannah to worry about. Meaning they don't really talk this episode until much later, but these two deals talk, saying that Amelie has to go. Who will we eliminating next? Next, Zabe mentioning, but we just worked with them. How could we betray them like this? And with Marissa still stating, I need to think long term. They will understand it's for a game move. If we want to win, we need Amelie in the jury. Zabe agreeing, saying that Jade would be the best bet since she has a better challenge record and is more likely to just bypass the jury altogether and leave us to facing off in it, compared to Isabel, where one of us could beat her and confirm a spot in the final two. I messed that up. He's saying better to get Jade because Jade when she Jade first if they're able, because she's a bigger challenge threat and is able to confirm a spot in the final three during the final four challenge. Jade agreeing with Marissa agreeing. That's when Amelie goes to Isabel, saying that she knows that she and Jade now want to bring her to finale because of her status as a returner who was eliminated second. Isabel is a bit cautious now, like saying, "Why are you coming to me if you know that?" Then just she says, "I can repeat the game move, but you need to understand that you're the biggest social threat now." That does have Isabel very, very worried about where she go about her position. With Amelie saying to calm down and saying that they'll work together to confirm their place in the jury. All you need to do is promise me that you'll make sure I get to the final two. Two, with Isabel not having really any other choice but to agree here. Here said, all right, I'll make sure to help you win so no one can vote you off. And that leaves us with the obvious answer of voting off Marissa for being the biggest challenge threat. which they agree on. That's about it for the pre-challenge stuff. In the challenge, these two would stay the same. There's no reason. I think these three would have the one as low, would have ones these three had, but a bit of a switch. Like, yeah, Zayd would still be a fighter. I believe that's what Logan wanted to fight. Either a fighter or a soldier. I believe a fighter, though. Correct me if I'm wrong, D&D nerds. Instead of these two, wait, I got it wrong. No, he would be Hannah as of an archer because I think that kind of fits his more his more calm nature. You need to be calm to be able to effectively use a bow like that. I think Amelie would be the barbarian because she's very ruthless and unwilling unwilling to take shit like Anastasia is, and that would leave Marissa as the fighter, which kind of fits her soldier background. With the challenge, a lot of the free stuff would go, but there's no one here who is experienced like Hannah is. So obviously there had to be a big change in approach. Marissa would say, "We don't know this game, so let's all stick together until we find a chair, and by that time we would know enough to fight it out amongst each other, and be able to while still dealing with these threats as efficiently as possible." A lot would stay the same. I think when they passed by the chest, Isabel would kind of take it to heart, especially now that she's friends with Marissa, and not follow. But if you want to say that she does, I still think it wouldn't. Marissa would kind of follow her, trying to convince her it's not a good idea to stay together. When she goes to bang the chest and the mimic, that's when Marissa kills it. So Isabel is still here. Now, the cockatrice, we're obviously going to need two people to die here to fit the final three thing. But I think now everyone's going to. As for who goes first, I think since while they would recognize the enemy, they wouldn't recognize they need to keep a distance. So Hannah would being how Amelie is a barbarian, she would charge to use her strength, get turned to stone, and die. Then these three would fight together. These two would fight the cockatrice together, keeping their distance with Isabel healing and Jade figuring out the puzzle. It would be happening a lot quicker, but I think this is where Zayd would die. And I think even with the idea of Isabel being a jury threat, Marissa is much more of a challenge threat and much able to bypass the jury. So Isabel wins immunity with Jade throwing to make sure Marissa doesn't win it. Well, how the preamble goes with them going to Amelie saying we should vote out Jade. She's the biggest threat, but Amelie now kind of being the swing vote, which she finds fitting. But ultimately, I think they would ultimately choose to vote out Marissa in a 3-2 vote. Marissa is shocked, but she kind of states that it was kind of expected she would be a target at all with her massive strength. Think Isabel and Marissa would hug Isabel, apologizing, hoping there's no hard feelings. Marissa not holding any real malice, and she was trying to vote off Jade anyway, so she has no reason to be mad at the betrayal. Jade also gives her a nice fist bump. Now kind of more so wanting revenge on Isabel now, though since this was his best chance at victory, but he realizes he needs to play it safe if he's going to be successful in that. All right. Yeah, she leaves, and now we are at panel of peers. Let me just get all the eliminated contestants up here real quick. Okay, we are here. So, First up, I think that first a lot of the conversations can still happen, but now there's no drama with Benji and the Vibe Tribes, and Zayd isn't here. I think Zayd. I think that Linda. I think that the only real change I can notice in the pre-up is there'd be a lot more Marissa and Arissa scenes than normal, and Benji and Spencer would still kind of talk with Benji trying to kind of get get some. Actually, I imagine Benji wouldn't just talk. Spencer would kind of go to everyone, kind of trying to ask advice about asking out, but getting a bunch of different answers from everyone, and just being more confused in general. Just with his crush on Tristan, they would wonder why is talking to everyone but them. But Ivy would say he's probably just trying to work on his social skills. Don't worry about it. Out of Tristan somewhat agreeing. Ivy would still kind of go through this thing of wondering what they could do for wondering what she could do for Tristan and how she wants to help them. And she kind of goes to the only two real parents, goes to all the parents for that. That with all of them stating that if you want what's best for Tristan, then you should ask them what they want since they are an adult, and if they need a place, invite them over. Let them live with you if you can afford it. If not, I'm sure you can find someone here to help. But yeah, Tristan does deserve better parents, and especially Ted would be on that since again he's a victim of being bullied for being different and knows people who are being and is friends with people who are bullied for being different. So hearing that Tristan was was ostracized by their family for being non-binary would piss them off a lot and would try to kind of get and that could actually lead to a few cute scenes of Ted trying to give Tristan some advice on how to deal with their family. But to the main event, I do think that for who they would vote for, on who they would go, first they would. So let's talk about them in alphabetical order. For Amelie, all the jury, all the jury members, most of the jury members would kind of state Amelie doesn't deserve the million since she's already since she was eliminated second, skipped half the competition, and came back midway through. Compared to the other three who fought to get where they are, Amelie doesn't. And even Marissa, who also came back, had a lot more had to fight a lot more to get where they are. Meaning that she still had to fight hard to come back, and now she's fighting hard to make sure to get past this jury. So she still has to. In fact, she has to fight harder than any of them here because of this attitude you're having. And that's when Logan would kind of bring up that Amelie tried blackmailing him for the frame up on Zayd, which he only did out of panic for being eliminated. Anastasia would still kind of be mad at this betrayal since she's friends with Zayd. But I think a lot of them would kind of understand Logan's position once they hear his side a bit more. Especially Richard, who's kind of understands what the. I do think Richard would definitely be giving him a mouthful for that, though, a lot of the time. As for Isabel, a lot of them are kind of mixed on her game. You obviously have supporters like Natalia who think who think that she's awesome and has a wonderful social game, making no enemies outside of Anastasia, which and and she even throws a little dig at Anastasia. It's like, oh, if anyone's gonna be, oh, if anyone's gonna be, be enemies of Isabel, it's gonna be Anastasia. With Anna just kind of having a little scoff and talk about how she betrayed her and she has every right to be mad at Isabel. With Marissa kind of stepping in to defend a bit though. Now that she's gotten close with Isabel, she not only wants to mend this bridge so she's not put in any awkward positions, but also that she wants to kind of help Anastasia with her paranoia problem, saying that she only did it out of revenge for Natalia. And what was she supposed to do when she had that idol? Just let herself get eliminated. Anastasia sighs, kind of admitting that Marissa has a point, but she's not too keen on voting for Isabel. Imagine Logan and Spencer are like, she won't be my first choice for winner, but pretty much everyone else is like, she's not going to be my first choice for winner, but if she does, I wouldn't be. But if she is up against Amelie, if she is up against someone like if she is up against someone like Amelie in the jury, they'll definitely vote for her. Or except with Hannah, who brings up Zayd. But she's they never really reconcile for the Benji vote, at least on Hannah's end. That's when you have the biggest defenders of Jade being Spencer and Benji, who think that she played an amazing strategic game at the beginning, then stepped back and played an amazing social game to make up for her weaknesses. Richard and Logan would be kind of iffy, since I imagine now Logan would hear about the whole "she left me to drown" thing, with Logan not really wanting to vote for her because of that. And I think others would kind of just be mixing, kind of saying the same thing they did on Isabel. Like, as long as they're not against my preferred winner, my choice for winner, then I'll vote to keep. And then for Zayd, kind of just a lot of the same thing. Like, Hannah trying to ring up the Zayd vote, the Benji vote, to try to eliminate him. I can imagine when Ivy was introducing him, she'd kind of just be she kind of have a bit of bias, talking about her love for him in a very cute way. Oh, I forgot to mention with the Zayd thing. So I definitely do think that Natalia would make some sort of comment about Isabel and Jade's tension. Now, I know the Holy Water ship is kind of contentious because of Isabel being a nun, but I like it, and I'll just leave it there. I don't feel like getting that conversation, but I think either way, whether we want it, whether it can be canon or not. Now, a lot of them would make a joke about how a lot of the joke would be made with all of them just like, Talia, nuns can't date, right? It's like, so, and she's like, so the Lord wants her to be happy, no? Yeah, with Zayd, everyone was kind of, obviously you have Marissa and Anastasia being on his side. Spencer's not too much, but saying he would be a better winner than Amelie. Natalia doesn't really have much to say, but kind of saying the same as Spencer. Benji would want him to win though to make up for what he did in the pre-merge, with Ivy kind of just saying it's no big deal, but Benji still insisting on it otherwise. And Logan kind of says the same, that I want to make sure he wins as my apology for trying to frame him. And with you have some people saying you only did it in a panic, you don't need to, but you have some saying good on you. Either way, a bit of a nice response for Logan. But ultimately, I do think that all this is pretty mixed on who they want to get in, with the only real popular consensus being Amelie doesn't deserve to win. All right, time to get them all back down. Hit the brakes. Now, this kind of gets split up into two things. Zayd's trying to think of what is the best way for him to get get to the end, and now he lost an ally. Since everyone else there voted for Marissa. I imagine he would go with Jade over anyone else since she has that advantage, and she doesn't want. And he doesn't want him using it against her. So they would kind of agree, yeah, let's vote together, and we need to get Isabel out with Jade kind of being surprised when Jade suggested, but she kind of says she's a jury threat. She's made no enemies. She needs to go. And then Amelie and Isabel think it would kind of have the same thing, but they kind of think Jade needs to go since she has that advantage, and they need to find a way to make her wasted without risking themselves being voted for. Especially now that they're in the final four, and that gives her the most power with that vote. Especially if she has an ally. Challenge. I really think it would come down between Isabel and Zayd. Because these two would be focusing on making sure the other doesn't get immunity. Or no, it would be Isabel and Jade, and they're both the targets. These two would be focusing on each other, since they're both each other's targets, and would want to make sure they don't get invincibility. And it's between Zayd and Amelie. Now, how well you do in bumper cars, kind of like the puzzle challenge of taking new heights. We don't have a lot of info, so Zayd is consistently better at challenges, even though he kind of got no immunities in the pre-merge. But he's kind of always been portrayed as better at challenges. But I also think that this could be a challenge Amelie would be great in with how ruthless she is, since you need to be able to, take any opportunity you get to get these points. So I'm gonna give it to Amelie. It doesn't really change the vote that much, so you can give it to Zayd if you want. These two are in the bottom. There's no doubt about it. Amelie and Isabel are obviously targeting her. These two are targeting them. Now we have her vote to worry about, her advantage to worry about, which she's definitely using, probably against Amelie to show there's no hard feelings. And then Amelie would talk to Zayd, talking about how you really want to go against a jury threat with someone who won a challenge that required making social connections, and not only that, got no question wrong, or someone who lost that challenge. Zayd would kind of thinking, we have a confessional talking about he can't believe none of them thought of that. Jade won that challenge. She needs to go. So yeah, I think it would be a 2-2 vote. Just now, Jade steals Amelie's vote, and now when Jade is voting for Isabel, for Jade instead of Isabel, and Jade voted for Isabel twice. As for who wins the tiebreaker, another one of those tough challenges, but considering how it's a lot more luck based, I decided to hand it over to Isabel. Just because there's no real way to determine who would be better. I do think this is better for Isabel's. What I'm going for Isabel's character and Jade's character. After Jade loses, they have a hug saying no hard feelings about the votes, and they agree it was done for strategic purposes, and they can count on each other to vote for them in the finale. So, losing a tiebreaker, Jade wins. If you want to say Jade loses, if you want to say that Isabel loses and Jade wins, I won't fight that. It's just this is a very hard challenge for me to determine who would win. And the jury episode. Like girls, they would have a confessional, or they would have a party celebrating the fact they are in the final three, each of them drinking a drink. Isabel would have the martini like she had in Hell of a Deal. Amelie would have wine, and Zayd would have a standard beer. Something simple, something fancy, something that Isabel loves. Just to speak to their personalities. Then Emily would come in with a reveal that they can vote to give someone else a disadvantage. And there's no surprise. The They put it on Zayd for being the biggest challenge threat. He sighs, saying there was not much he can do, but he's not going to let him go that easy. And they both said they wouldn't have it any other way. This game is not worth anything if you don't fight for it. As for who wins, I am going to say Isabel wins the challenge. She is an influencer, meaning she's used to making a poker face that doesn't reflect her true emotions. She can keep a smile on during stressful situations. Much better than I think these two can, especially since Zayd panics a lot easily, and with his disadvantage, there's no way he's winning. And Amelie, while she is smart, with how ruthless she is, she's quick to give into emotion, to her anger. Amelie is especially pissed that Isabel won though, because the deal was that she would bring Isabel to the mirror to the final three, and that Amelie would get a chance in the jury. But Isabel states that I that she had the best chance of winning before Zayd did. So now we have the jury. So we have a few questions in the audience. So I'm not gonna go over every single question and determine who gets brought up. I'll just go over some notable ones. First up, the notable one I have is, I'm gonna say the most notable one for last here. First up is Hannah wanting to ask Amelie to think of how this game has changed and times she had to fight to get where she is. Amelie states that when she heard about the jury, she had made a plan with Isabel to try and skip it altogether to get to the final two. And they and and while it didn't work out, it involved a masterful planning on her part and flipping Zayd over from who was really the biggest jury threat. Hannah though would bring up that, which a lot of them would kind of get on. I imagine Marissa would probably ask Zayd if I probably someone mad against Zayd, like Hannah, like I can't really think of anyone specifically against Zayd, but I can imagine Jade trying to. I can imagine Marissa trying to get to the sympathy point, thinking how much you're gonna. You said you wanted to give your mom the money for cooking school. Why don't you tell this story to everyone to make sure they knew? Which she does about how his mom has had to give up so much and made it much harder to support herself while he was in school, and he feel like he owes it to her, kind of raising sympathy points for her. And finally, the most notable is the one that kind of switches everything. But before that, I just remembered something else. Benji would ask Zayd if his vote would be enough, if him voting Amelie would be enough to earn his forgiveness. It's kind of like a dorky, joking way that Zayd can tell. He laughs a bit, saying that this game has taught him that sometimes you have to vote against people you love to get further. And now he knows that Benji meant nothing by it, and that he doesn't need his vote for the forgiveness. And then Logan brings up the thing that confirms that Amelie is going to be eliminated here. He asked Amelie, why did you intend on blackmailing Zayd on me when I tried to frame Zayd? And that kind of quickly turned a lot of people against her. Even the people who were against Logan would be like, well, Logan did was bad. At least he had the excuse of panic. You plan on letting Zayd take the fall when you knew otherwise. This kind of makes Zayd mad at her, and now no longer a friendly vote campaigning. When to the vote, but maybe Benji is stuck. Benji is set on voting for Zayd to make up. Hannah would be the only one voting for Amelie here. Everyone else, only one voting for Zayd here. So everyone else voting for Amelie. So yeah, in an 8-1 vote, Amelie is our third placer. She is upset by this, side to this, but states that she can't be too mad. Logan managed to turn the votes using a point in her own game that ruined that would have ruined her if brought up. So he's kind of proud. She is proud of Logan for doing it, and still wishes Zayd the best of luck. And the final episode, Zayd versus Isabel. They were both having a confessional talking about how playing this game has changed them for the better. Zayd has realized that you can vote for people you care about without it being personal, and that he has learned better going forward, learning when to think emotionally and when to think logically. Isabel learns that just because she's a nun doesn't mean she has a higher standard of morality than anyone else in the world, and that shouldn't be quick to let others' words dissuade her from her faith. She then has a little moment talking about how the Lord, and that if she's destined to win, the Lord will grant it. So for the challenge, they go for the whole spiel of it. Isabel is kind of a bit scared since the whole now she knows that this carnival would have the whole would have a ghost in it, would have a kind of like a spirit haunting it, which is demonic. But they would bring her back down to earth, saying that if the spirit was gonna do anything to them, they would have done it by now. Then when they choose the helpers, Ivy instantly volunteers for Zayd. Not even a joke. By the way, I don't feel like going for who specific votes for who. Anastasia and Marissa go for Zayd. Some people go for Zayd, but it doesn't matter. I imagine Jade would try to support Isabel, but Natalia would do the same thing she did with Logan and go up beforehand. These are our helpers. A lot of it would go the same with Jade having the same ideas with Isabel. Isabel having the same ideas she had that Jade did, of getting boost, looking around at the top, knocking over Zayd's podium, all that, giving them the lead, but then it would be kind of diminished when they had to talk in the haunted house. Not only because Isabel is still like a bit scared of it, but also because Natalia is trying to get the scoop on her and Jade, and this is where her response would differ on if you think Issa Jade would be canon or not. Not. If not, well, it was started the same way earlier. Like, tell me, are you planning to use this money for a date with you and Jade? Jade, if you don't want her to be canon, then Isabel would kind of have a blank look, a bit confused on why Natalia would suggest this. She said, "I'm a nun. We're not allowed to date. If you do want her to be canon like me," she would kind of just be like, well, kind of just all nervous, stuttering, blushing, all that. That wasn't Natalia having a little laugh at her flustered reaction. They would have to admit to Ivy on the ride over that despite how close they are, Zayd cannot not split the money with her because he has promised that every single cent of this $1 million is going to his mom. With Ivy understanding, saying that selflessness is why she fell for Zayd in the first place, and she's really happy he made it this far, and that she's able to help him win it. So they would end up catching up and going to, and they're kind of be neck and neck a lot of the time, with Zayd having a slight lead, but Natalia is able to help patch it up, and whoever wins could go either way. But I do give the edge to Zayd. I do give the edge to Zayd since he's traditionally better at challenges, and if it's neck and neck, I could see him being able to do something desperate like jumping out of the ambulance when it's to cross the finish line first, him winning. Isabel is a bit upset about her loss, but she has Jade and Natalia to comfort her, saying we tried our best. There's nothing we can really. You tried your best, and I know the Lord would be proud of you for that. Isabel is happy about the results. Just a bit sad that she doesn't get to use the money to go back to see her parents. I imagine Zayd and Ivy would still have that conversation of Ivy being a bit hesitant to continue the relationship with all, but but now that he's a winner, he said, "Listen, I won this game, so there's nothing I can do," which would convince Ivy, especially now that Tristan is in, and she doesn't. She also bring up that she has unofficially adopted Tristan and is letting them live with her, and that she doesn't want to kind of force that responsibility on the date if he doesn't want it, and he states he is happy to help Tristan if they need it. Speaking of Tristan, they would still have their little moment and kiss. I imagine Logan and Hannah would get to have a little sweet moment together, and Anastasia and Marissa would agree to be traveling together. So, all in all, that is what I think would happen if Isabel never pulled that tiebreaker move. In terms of how I compare this to the original, I do kind of prefer it, mainly because Logan gets some consequences for framing Zayd, and Zayd and Marissa both get a bit, and Marissa get a lot more screen time which they desperately needed, and I got to give them more outside of their relationship. And honestly, nothing with the Isabel side really makes me happier with this above the original, despite Isabel being my favorite character in DC4. I am pretty proud of what I did with her, but honestly, I think other than her placement, I really do like Carnival of Chaos and her arc. So I can't really say she came out better in this AU than the original. But yeah, that's my thought. Hope you really like this What If. You have been on the Jam Pack Journey. I'll see you out.